Hello and welcome to my channel. Today's video we are going to be making this cute little tabby cat. It is what I consider a no-sew body pattern, which means we're going to start by making the little arms, then we're going to make the legs, then we're going to start up at the top of the head, work our way down, attach the arms, work on the body, attach the legs, add the eyes, stuff, and clothes. And then we will have to sew on the muzzle, the ears, and a little bit of embroidery. For this video, I will be using a number 4 medium weight yarn, a 4.25 millimeter hook, and 14 millimeter safety eyes. This is a crochet along, so I will be doing every stitch with you, and I am also providing a drop down at the top of the screen with the pattern instructions for the first 30 seconds of every row for you to follow along with. And if you enjoy this video, please hit the subscribe button and click that bell. Not only does that help me out, but you'll also be notified every time I load a new video, as well as any likes, shares, and comments are always appreciated. Okay, I think that's everything, so grab your yarn and let's get started. All right, we're going to be starting with the first little paw, and I'm going to just remind you guys before we begin, you don't have to start the same way I do. I start everything with this knot and loop that I make. You can do your magic ring, loop, chain 2 or 3 and go in the first chain, however you prefer to do your starting loop. All you need to remember is to have the same amount of stitches in row 1, and then you can just do it your own way. So what I like to do is what I call a knot with a loop on the end. So I fold my yarn over in half, pinch it up at the top, wrap it around my finger, down and through to make a knot. And then I pinch that loop, then I just slide that knot up so that my loop is just a little bit bigger than my hook. Insert your hook, grab your yarn, pull up, and chain 1. And that does not count as a stitch, that just attaches our yarn to our loop. And for row 1, going over top of our tail, we're going to do 6 single crochets into that loop. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then you're going to pull that tail if you need to close up that hole. Grab a stitch marker if you're using one, and for row 2 we are going to do 6 increases, so that's 2 single crochets in every stitch all the way around for a total of 12. So increase 1 and 2 in the same stitch. Increase 3 and 4 in the same stitch, increase 5 and 6, increase 7 and 8, increase 9 and 10, and our last increase 11 and 12. Row 3, we are going to do 2 single crochets, 1 increase, repeat that around for a total of 16. So 1 single crochet, 2 single crochets, and an increase for 3 and 4. And then repeat that around. 5, 6, increase 7 and 8, 9, 10, increase 11 and 12, 13, 14, and our last increase, 15 and 16. Row 4, we are going to do a 16 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Row 5, 16 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Row 6, 16 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Row 7, we are going to do 2 single crochets, 1 decrease, repeat that around for a total of 12. So 1 single crochet for 1, another single crochet for 2, and then a decrease for 3, and then repeat that around. 4, 5, decrease for 6, 7, 8, decrease for 9, 10, 11, and our last decrease for 12. Row 8, we are going to do 1 single crochet, 1 decrease, repeat that all the way around for a total of 8. So 1 single crochet for 1, 1 decrease for 2, and repeat that around. 3, decrease for 4, 5, decrease for 6, 7, and on our last decrease we're going to be changing color, so we're going to go in, grab our yarn, in, grab our yarn, leave those 3 loops on the hook, and don't cut your yarn because we're going to be flipping the 2 colors back and forth. So now you're going to grab your striping color and you're going to tie that nice and tight to your other color, as close to the hook as you can get it, 2 or 3 times. And then I'm just going to tuck that end in there so it's out of my way. Bring that new color. through those 3 loops on your hook to finish off that last stitch of your previous row. Okay. Row 9, we're going to do 8 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Row 10, we're going to do 8 single crochets all the way around. Whoop. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then on our 8th one, we're going to go in, grab our yarn, pull up, and then we're going to drop the color we were just using, our striping color, and grab our main color, pull that through those 2 loops of the last stitch of the previous row. Row 11, 8 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Row 12, 8 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then again on our 8th one, we're going to go in, grab our yarn, pull up, drop our main color, grab our stripe color, pull that through those 2 loops on your hook. Row 13, 8 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Row 14, 8 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and again on our 8th one, go in, grab your yarn, leave those 2 loops on your hook, drop your stripe color, grab your main color, pull that through those 2 loops on your hook. Row 15, 8 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Row 16, 8 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then on our 8th one we're going to change color again. So grab your 2 loops, drop your main color, grab your stripe color, pull that through, row 17, 8 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Row 18, we are going to do 8 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then on our 8th one we're going to change colors. So go in, grab your yarn, pull up, and we are done with this darker stripe color now. So I'm just going to cut that off. We're going to tie our stripe color to our base color now. Two or 3 times, nice and tight, as close to the hook as you can get it. Tuck that in if you can so it's out of your way. And then pull that color through those 3 loops to finish off that stitch of your last row. Row 19, we're going to do 8 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Row 20, we are going to do 8 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All right, that's the last row of our arm. So take your hook out. We're going to add some stuffing now. We can also take our stitch marker out. So what we want to do is we want to have the hand stuffed fairly firmly. So we want to get that stuffing all the way down into the hand. You may need to use something else to get it down in there. I use my scissors. They seem to work really good. There's all kinds of different things you can use. So I just want to get a little chunk in the point of my scissors, and then I push her down. So you'll notice I'm kind of trying to make a little bit of a ball. Put a little bit more in, I think. You want to make sure you're not overstuffing it though, because you don't want to spread and open your stitches. And then once you have the hand nice and firm, you're just going to stuff little bits at a time down into the arm. You don't want this stuffed too firmly, just enough to give it a little bit of a shape. And that might even be enough right there. Just kind of feel it. So see how so this is nice and firm, and then this is quite squishy, because when we attach it, we don't want it to be so full that it sticks straight out. We want it to kind of lay flat and bend around the body. I might just put a tiny bit in the top here. And then when you're happy with your amount of stuffing, get your hook back in. We're going to go into the next stitch. And then we're going to go into the last stitch on the other side. And we're going to do 3 single crochets across. So 1 into the next stitch. Make sure you're getting through both sides. 2, and then in the last one through both sides. 3. And then you're going to tie that off, and even though we're not sewing these on, I do something with the strings later on, so you want to leave yourself a bit of a tail. So if you have just finished your first arm, I will be putting a screenshot in the next frame with a timestamp, so you can go back and do your second arm. And then if you're done your second arm, just keep on watching and we'll continue on to the next part. All right, now we're going to start on the leg. And again, you can begin any way you prefer, as long as you have the same amount of stitches in row 1. I'll be making a knot with a loop on the end. Insert your hook, grab your yarn, pull up and chain 1. And remember, that does not count as a stitch, that just attaches your yarn to your loop. And for row 1, going over top of the tail, we're going to do 6 single crochets into that loop. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then pull that tail if you need to close up that hole. Grab a stitch marker if you're using one, and for row 2 we are going to do 6 increases, so that's 2 single crochets in every stitch all the way around for a total of 12. So increase 1 and 2 in the same stitch, increase 3 and 4, increase 5 and 6, increase 7 and 8, increase 9 and 10, and our last increase 11 and 12. Row 3, we are going to do 1 single crochet, 1 increase, repeat that all the way around for a total of 18. 1 single crochet, increase 2 and 3, and repeat that around. 4, increase 5 and 6, 7, increase 8 and 9, 10, increase 11 and 12, 13, increase 14 and 15, 16, and our last increase 17 and 18. Row 4, we are going to do 2 single crochets, 1 increase, repeat that all the way around for a total of 24. So 1 single crochet, 2 single crochets, increase 3 and 4, and repeat that around. 5, 6, increase 7 and 8, 9, 10, increase, 11 and 12, 13, 14, increase, 15 and 16, 17, 18, increase, 19 and 20, 21, 22, and our last increase, 23 and 24. Row 5, we are going to do 24 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. Row 6, we are going to do 24 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. Row 7, we are going to do 24 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. Row 8, we are going to start off with 6 single crochets. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And now we're going to do an invisible decrease. So what we want to do is grab the front loops of the next 2 stitches. So you're going to come down, up between the V of your stitch, grab that front loop, come around and grab the front loop of your next stitch. So you have 2 front loops on your hook. Then you're going to grab your yarn. You're going to go through those first 2 front loops, and then you grab your yarn and go through the last 2 loops on your hook. So that's 1. So front loop, grab your yarn, pull through, grab your yarn, go through the 2 loops on your hook. That's 2. Another invisible decrease, that's 3. Invisible decrease, that's 4. Invisible decrease, that's 5. Invisible decrease, that's 6. Then you should have 6 single crochets left to finish off the row. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it should look like this now. You're starting to form the top of the foot. Row 9, we are going to start off with 3 single crochets. So 1, 2, 3, and then we're going to do 6 invisible decreases. So remember, front loop, grab your yarn, pull through, grab your yarn, pull through. So that's 1 invisible decrease, that's 2 invisible decrease, that's 3 invisible decrease, that's 4 invisible decrease, that's 5. Whoops, I didn't catch all that yarn there. So still 5. And then invisible decrease, that's 6. Then you should have 3 single crochets left. 1, 2, and then on our third one we're going to change colors. So go in, grab your yarn, pull up, leaving those 2 loops on your hook. And again, don't cut your yarn because we're just going to be flipping back and forth. You're going to grab your new color, tie it nice and tight, as close to the hook as you can get it, 2 or 3 times. And then you're going to grab that new color, pull it through those 2 loops on your hook to finish off that last stitch of your previous row. Row 10, we are going to do 12 single crochets all the way around. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Row 11, 12 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and then on your 12th one we'll go in, come up. We're going to be changing colors, so leave those 2 loops on your hook, grab your new color, pull it through those 2 loops to finish off that last row. Row 12, we are going to do 12 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Row 13, 12 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and then on your 12th one, we're going to change color. So drop that color, pick up your new color, pull that through to finish off that last stitch. Row 14, 12 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Row 15, 12 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and then on our 12th one, change back to our other color. So get your 2 loops on your hook, grab your other color, slide that through, row 16, 12 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Row 17, 12 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and then on our 12th one, we're going to change color. So in, pull up, leaving those 2 loops on your hook. Grab your new color, pull it through to finish off that last stitch. Row 18, 12 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Row 19, 12 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, And then on our 12th one, we're going to change color and we're going to get rid of this stripe color. So let's cut that long enough for tying. And we're going to tie that stripe color to our main color, nice and tight, as close to the hook as you can get it, 2 or 3 times. Tuck that in if you can. And then pull that through to finish off that last stitch of your last row. In row 20, 12 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. All right, we're done the leg, so we can take our hook out, take your stitch marker out if you need to. And now we're going to stuff it, so grab your stuffing. Okay, so we are going to start by stuffing down into the bottom of the foot. And we want to have that foot nice and firm, but you don't want to stretch your stitches. So you're really going to want to watch out where you did those invisible decreases. That's where it's going to probably stretch the most. So once you get your stuffing down to the bottom, I'm going to use the palm of my hand to keep my foot flat. And then I'm just tucking the stuffing up into the toe a bit, leaving a bit of a space in the back. So I'm using those 6 decreases to find my front. Then once I have enough in the front, I'm going to take another little bunch and I'm going to stick that into the heel of the foot. All the while I'm keeping it against the palm of my hand. And I think that's probably pretty good. You want it fairly firm, maybe a tiny little bit more. You also want to make sure both your legs end up the same. And then we're going to stuff about 3/4 of the leg. Again, fairly firm, firmer than we did the arms for sure. But also keeping in mind you don't want to be stretching your stitches so you see your stuffing. So I'm almost there. Just put a little bit more in. I think that's enough. So I'm about right here. And the reason we're doing that is because when he's sitting, we want the leg to come down like this so that his belly will go over his leg and he doesn't keep tipping backwards on you. So once you're happy with all your stuffing, you're going to get your hook back in. And then you're going to go into the next stitch on the front, the last stitch on the other side. And we are going to start off with 2 single crochets. 1, 2. Make sure you're going through both sides. Then we're going to do 1 increase, 3 and 4 in the same stitch, and then 2 single crochets to finish off. 1, 2 for a total of 6. Then again, you're going to tie off, again, leaving yourself a little bit of a tail. I've yet to really decide what to do with these ends, but I do tie them on the inside when we attach them. So if you have just finished your first leg, I will be putting a screenshot with a timestamp in the next frame, so you can go back and do your second leg. And if you're finished your second leg, just keep on watching and we'll continue on to the next part. All right, now we're going to start at the top of the head, and remember you can begin your rounds any way you prefer as long as you have the same amount of stitches in row 1. I'm going to be making my knot with the loop on the end. Insert your hook, grab your yarn, pull up, and chain 1. And remember, that does not count as a stitch. That just attaches our yarn to our loop. And for row 1, going over top of the tail, we're going to do 6 single crochets into that loop. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then pull that tail if you need to close up that hole. Grab a stitch marker if you're using one. And for row 2, we're going to do 6 increases. So that's 2 single crochets in every stitch all the way around for a total of 12. So increase 1 and 2 in the same stitch. Increase 3 and 4. Increase 5 and 6. Increase 7 and 8. Increase 9 and 10. And our last increase 11 and 12. Row 3, we are going to do 1 single crochet, 1 increase. Repeat that all the way around for a total of 18. So 1 single crochet, increase, 2 and 3. And repeat that around. 4, increase, 5 and 6, 7, increase, 8 and 9, 10, increase, 11 and 12, 13, increase, 14 and 15, 16, increase, 17, and then on our 18th stitch we're going to change color, so you're going to go in that same stitch, grab your yarn, pull up, leaving those 2 loops on the hook. And again, don't cut your yarn because we're going to be just flipping back and forth. So grab your striping color, and then we're just going to tie those 2 together nice and tight, as close to the hook as you can get them, 2 or 3 times. Sometimes I just don't want to tie. There we go. And then pull that new color through those 2 loops to finish off that stitch of the previous row. Row 4, we are going to do 2 single crochets, 1 increase, repeat that all the way around for a total of 24. So 1 single crochet, 2 single crochets, increase, 3 and 4, and then repeat that around. 5, 6, increase, 7 and 8, 9, 10, increase, 11 and 12, 13, 14, increase, 15 and 16, 17, 18, increase, 19 and 20, 21, 22, and our last increase, 23 and 24. Row 5, we are going to do 3 single crochets, 1 increase. Repeat that all the way around for a total of 30. So 1, 2, 3, increase, 4 and 5. And repeat that around. 6, 7, 8, increase, 9 and 10, 11, 12, 13, increase, 14 and 15, 16, 17, 18, increase, 19 and 20, 21, 22, 23, increase, 24 and 25, 26, 27, 28, and our last increase, 29 and 30. And on our last one, we're going to change color here. So drop your stripe color, pick up your new color, pull that through to finish off that last stitch of your previous row. Row 6, we are going to do 4 single crochets, 1 increase. Repeat that all the way around for a total of 36. So 1, 2, 3, 4, increase, 5 and 6. And then repeat that around. 7, 8, 9, 10, increase, 11 and 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, increase, 17 and 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, increase, 23 and 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, increase, 29 and 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, and our last increase, 35 and 36. Row 7, we are going to do 5 single crochets, 1 increase. Repeat that all the way around for a total of 42. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, increase, 6 and 7. And then repeat that around. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, increase, 13 and 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, increase, 20 and 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, increase, 27 and 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, increase, 34 and 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, and our last increase, 41. Then we're going to change color on 42, so grab your yarn, pull up, leaving those 2 loops on your hook, drop your main color, grab your stripe color, row 8, we're going to do 42 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42. Row 9, 42 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, and then on 42 we change color, so grab your yarn, leaving the 2 loops, pull your base color through, row 10, we are going to do 42 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42. Row 11, 42 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, and then on our 42nd one, we're going to change color again. My strings are twisted everywhere. Row 12, we are going to do 42 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42. Row 13, 42 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, and then on our 42nd, we're going to change color. Row 14, 42 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, oops, still 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, oopsie, 40, 41, 42. Row 15, we are going to do 5 single crochets, 1 decrease, repeat that all the way around for a total of 36. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and a decrease, 4, 6. And then repeat that around. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and a decrease, for 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, and a decrease for 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, and a decrease for 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, and a decrease for 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35. Then on our last decrease, we're going to change colors. So you're going to go in, grab your yarn, in, grab your yarn, leaving those 3 loops on your hook. Then you're going to grab your stripe color, pull that through those 3 loops on your hook to finish off the row. Row 16, we are going to do 4 single crochets, 1 decrease. Repeat that all the way around for a total of 30. 1, 2, 3, 4, and a decrease for 5. And repeat that around. 6, 7, 8, 9, and a decrease for 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and a decrease for 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and a decrease for 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, and a decrease for 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, and a decrease for 30. Row 17, we are going to do 3 single crochets, 1 decrease. Repeat that all the way around for a total of 24. So 1 single crochet, 2, 3, and a decrease for 4, 5, 6, 7, and a decrease for 8, 9, 10, 11, and a decrease for 12, 13, 14, 15, and a decrease for 16, 17, 18, 19, and a decrease for 20, 21, 22, 23, and then on our last decrease, we're going to go in, grab our yarn, pull up with those 3 loops on our hook, drop our old color, pick up our new color, pull that through those 3 loops on your hook. Row 18, we are going to do 2 single crochets, 1 decrease. Repeat that around for a total of 18. So 1, 2, and a decrease for 3, 4, 5, and a decrease for 6, 7, 8, and and a decrease for 9, 10, 11, and a decrease for 12, 13, 14, and a decrease for 15, 16, 17, and a decrease for 18. Row 19, we are going to do 18 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. All right, we are going to do the arms next. So grab those and get them ready. And I'm going to switch my camera angle so we can hopefully see a little better, and I will meet you right back. All right, row 20, we are going to start off with 3 single crochets. 1, 2, 3. Then you're going to grab one of your arms, remembering that where your stitch marker is your back and this side is your front. You're going to grab one of your arms, and you want the strings to face the front side of your little guy, and you're going to go into the first single crochet of the arm. Then you're going to go in the next stitch of the head, and we're going to do 3 single crochets across. So 1 into the arm, into the next stitch of the head, that's 2, into the arm, into the next stitch of the head, that's 3. And then you're going to do 6 single crochets across. Make sure you're starting in the next stitch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And now you're going to grab your other arm. Again, make sure your strings are facing to the front side and not the back side. And you're going to be going into the first stitch of the arm and the next stitch of the body. 1 into the arm, into the next stitch of the body, 2 into the arm, into the next stitch of the body. And then you should have 3 single crochets left to finish off that row. 1, 2, and in that third one we're going to change back to our stripe color. So you're going to go in, pull out, grab or keep your 2 loops on your hook, drop the color you were just using, grab your stripe color and pull that through to finish off that last stitch of the row. Row 21, you're going to do 2 single crochets, 1 increase, repeat that around for a total of 24. So 1, 2, increase, 3 and 4, and repeat that around. 5, 6, increase, 7, and 8. And when you get to these strings, make sure you keep them on the inside and don't go over them, because that's where we'll need them for later. Continue on. So that was 8, 9, 10, increase, 11 and 12, 13, 14, increase, 15 and 16, 17, 18, increase, 19 and 20, 21, 22, and our last increase, 23 and 24. Row 22, we are going to do 24 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, and then in our 24th stitch, we're going to go in, grab our yarn, pull up. We're going to be changing colors now again. Grab that new color, pull it through to finish off that last stitch of the row. Row 23, we are going to do 3 single crochets, 1 increase, repeat that all the way around for a total of 30. So 1, 2, 3, and an increase, 4 and 5. And repeat that around. 6, 7, 8, increase, 9 and 10, 11, 12, 13, increase, 14 and 15, 16, 17, 18, increase, 19 and 20, 21, 22, 23, increase, 24 and 25, 26, 27, 28, and our last increase, 29 and 30. Row 24, we are going to do 30 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, and then in this last stitch, we're going to change color. So grab your new color, pull it through the rest of that stitch to finish it off. Row 25, we are going to do 4 single crochets, 1 increase. Repeat that all the way around for a total of 36. 1, 2, 3, 4, and an increase, 5, and 6. And repeat that around. 7, 8, 9, 10, increase, 11 and 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, increase, 17 and 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, increase, 23 and 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, increase, 29 and 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, increase, 35, and 36. Row 26, we are going to do 36 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, and then on our last one, we're going to go in, pull up, keep those 2 loops on our hook because we're going to change color now. Pull that new color through. Row 27, 36 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36. Row 28, 36 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, and then on our last one we're going to change color. So go in, pull up, leave those 2 loops on your hook, grab your new color, pull it through. Row 29, 36 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36. Row 30, 36 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, and then on our 36th one, we're going to go in and pull up and change color. We're done with this one stripe now, so we're going to cut that off. Leave enough of a tail for tying. And we're just going to tie that last color to our other color. Nice and tight, as close to the hook as you can get it. 2 or 3 times. And then we'll just pull that through to finish off that last stitch. Now, let's do a couple of things. Maybe add the eyes, and if you want to add a little bit of stuffing, we'll do that too. So grab those and get those ready, and get your darning needle out. What we're going to do first is just flatten our little guy out so we can find the center and the row. And we're going to be using our arms to find that. So once we have him nice and flat, we're going to find the row first. So in your starting loop, that's row 1. We're going to go down between rows 9 and 10. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then right here between rows 9 and 10. So right now that's just the row. And then I'm going to use my arms down here, just where they're attached on both sides. I'm going to count over evenly. So right there is about my middle, and then there's my middle at the top, and just kind of see, I think I might be right in the right spot here, but I am going to make sure I'm in a stitch and not in a hole. So I got a hole, and I want to be in that stitch right there. Then you're going to grab your first eye, and in that hole right beside your darning needle, you're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, and in that 4th hole, then you're going to do the same thing on the other side, the hole right beside your pin, 1, 2, 3, 4, and in that 4th hole. And then just have a look, make sure that they still seem centered to you. And that looks okay to me, so I'm going to put my backs on. And if you have a hard time putting the eyes on when we're this far along, a little trick is to get your hand up inside. You're going to put your thumb on the eye, and you're going to bring that eye through the neck so you have nice access for it. And then you're just going to put that on. And same thing to the other one. Put your thumb on your eye, bring it up through the neck, grab your back, and stick your back on. All right, now we're going to add some stuffing. And we want to get a nice firm amount into the top of the head. So what I like to do is I hold on to the neck, and that just helps from stretching the neck stitches while we're putting our stuffing in. And as you're going in there, just kind of shape the head into a nice round shape. This is where you actually get most of your shape is how you stuff it compared to how you crochet it. I'm going to put a little bit more in. Again, I'm holding around the neck so I don't stretch those stitches. And I'm just going to use my thumb to kind of make a round shape. So that's pretty good right there, I think. I can always add a little bit more after. Now I'm going to stop stuffing here, just so it's easier for me to keep it in the camera. If you have a hard time stuffing, you can stuff as you go now. All right, let's get our hook back in now. And for row 31, we are going to do 36 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36. Row 32, we are going to do 4 single crochets, 1 decrease. Repeat that all the way around for a total of 30. 1, 2, 3, 4, and a decrease, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and a decrease, 4, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and a decrease, 4, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and a decrease, for 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, and a decrease, for 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, and a decrease, for 30. Row 33, we are going to do 3 single crochets, 1 decrease. Repeat that all the way around for a total of 24. 1, 2, 3, and a decrease, for 4. 5, 6, 7, and a decrease, for 8, 9, 10, 11, and a decrease for 12, 13, 14, 15, and a decrease for 16, 17, 18, 19, and a decrease for 20, 21, 22, 23, and a decrease for 24. All right, we're going to add the legs now, so grab them and get them ready. All right, so for row 34, we are going to start off with 8 single crochets. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and that should get you right to the middle of your arm. If you're left-handed, you may be doing this row backwards. And grab your first leg, and you want to make sure that the toe of the foot is facing the bottom because he's upside down. And then when you flip him over, it'll look like this. And we're going to do 6 single crochets through the leg and through the body. So into the leg, into the next stitch of the body, that's 1, into the leg, into the next stitch of the body, that's 2, into the leg, into the next stitch of the body, that's 3, into the leg, into the next stitch of the body, that's 4, into the leg, into the next stitch of the body, that's 5, into the leg, into the next stitch of the body, that's 6. And then flip your string over to the inside, and we're going to tie it on the inside later. Grab your other leg. Again, remember you want that toe pointing down towards the body. And then you're going to go into the leg. Whoop. And then into the next stitch of the body. Just make sure you're in the right stitch because it's really easy to go in the same one right here. That's 1. Into the leg, into the next stitch of the body. That's 2. Into the leg, into the next stitch of the body. That's 3. Into the leg, next stitch of the body. That's 4. Into the leg, into the next stitch of the body, that's 5, into the leg, into the next stitch of the body, that's 6, and then we should have 4 single crochets left to finish off the row. 1, 2, 3, 4. Strings everywhere. Now we only have 3 rows left, so if you want to, you can add a little bit of stuffing. But first, let's tie up these strings. So these are our leg strings, and we're just going to tie them loosely against the back side of our body. You don't want to pull them tight, or his legs will be squished up like this. So nice and loose, and then slowly tighten as you go. As soon as your knot doesn't slide when you pull it tight, then you'll have enough. We'll give those ends a cut. And then now when you add your stuffing, you're just going to butt, if you can see down in there where my stuffing ends at the neck there, you're just going to butt this stuffing up to the neck. You're not going to push it up through the neck. And then that will also help keep your neck from stretching out. That might be more than I need. Oh, maybe not. The stuffing is so deceiving. There we go. So the body doesn't have to be as firm as the head, just kind of whatever shape you feel like you want there. But you do want to make sure that it's not rounding out on the bottom because we want this bottom to be flat. So just make sure that your stuffing is nice and even with the bottom. Okay, let's get our hook back in now. And for row 35, we are going to do 2 single crochets, 1 decrease, repeat that all the way around for a total of 18. 1, 2, and a decrease for 3, 4, 5, and a decrease for 6, 7, 8, and a decrease for 9, 10, 11, and a decrease for 12, 13, 14, and a decrease for 15, 16, 17, and a decrease, for 18. Row 36, we are going to do 1 single crochet, 1 decrease, repeat that all the way around for a total of 12. So 1 single crochet, 1 decrease for 2, single crochet for 3, decrease for 4, single crochet for 5, decrease for 6, single crochet for 7, decrease for 8, single crochet for 9, decrease for 10, single crochet for 11, and a decrease for 12. And this is our last row, so if you still need to add stuffing, do that now. Row 37, 6 decreases. 1 decrease, 2 decreases, 3 decreases, 4 decreases, 5 decreases, 6 decreases. And then we're just going to slip stitch into the next stitch. And then tie that off, leaving yourself enough of a tail to close up the hole. I'm going to take my stitch marker out. And let's close up the hole. So grab your darning needle. And we're going to thread that tail on. And all we're going to do is weave in and out of these top loops all the way around. If you're trying this out in the plush yarn, try doing a couple of stitches at a time and then pulling it, and that should help if your yarn breaks easily. So I'm going to pull that closed. And I'm going to tie a knot in the next stitch. And I'm just going to bring that up the center and then out the back somewhere. Give it a good pull so the knot you just tied comes to the inside. And now we're going to do the little arm strings. So thread one on. It doesn't matter which one because it's done exactly the same way for both. And what you're going to do is you're going to come where that knot is tied, where you tied off your arm, and the first or last stitch that you attached your arm in, you're going to go in that hole right there, and then out the center of the back of the neck. Then you're going to put your other one on. Again, you're going to find that knot and the hole where you attached your arm last. So right there. And you're going to come out that same stitch that your other end has come out through. Keep track of your ends now. We're going to give them one tie. And then we're going to wrap them around the neck so we know which side goes where. And what we're going to do now is we're going to pull them tight, and these knots and your arms are going to come in and forward. Now if one happens to come more than the other, like right now this one is, just kind of hold it and then you'll pull the other one until they're even. And just pull them until they're where you want them. And then you'll turn it back over and tie that a couple times to secure it. Remember, it will relax a little bit over time. And then we'll thread those ends on. And then we'll just put them in and out somewhere through the body. Cut that off. I know he doesn't look like a cat yet, but I promise you, as funny as he looks now, the magic is coming. All right, now we're going to be doing the muzzle. And again, you can start your rounds any way you prefer, as long as you have the same amount of stitches in row 1. I'll be making my knot with the loop on the end. Insert your hook. Grab your yarn, pull up, and chain 1. And remember, that does not count as a stitch. That just attaches our yarn to our loop. And for row 1, going over top of the tail, we are going to do 8 single crochets into the loop. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then pull on that tail if you need to close up that hole. Grab a stitch marker if you're using one. And for row 2, we are going to do 1 single crochet, 1 increase. Repeat that around for a total of 12. So 1 single crochet for 1, 1 increase for 2 and 3. 4, increase, 5 and 6, 7, increase, 8 and 9, 10, and our last increase, 11 and 12. Row 3, we are going to do 1 single crochet, 1 increase. Repeat that around for a total of 18. So 1 single crochet, increase, 2 and 3, 4, increase, 5 and 6, 7, increase, 8 and 9, 10, increase, 11 and 12, 13, increase, 14 and 15, 16, and our last increase, 17 and 18. Row 4, we are going to do 18 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Row 5, we are going to do 5 single crochets, 1 increase. Repeat that around for a total of 21. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, increase, 6 and 7, and repeat that around. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, increase, 13 and 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, increase, 20 and 21. And then we are just going to slip stitch into the next stitch, tie that off, and you're going to want to leave enough of a tail to sew this on. So what I like to do is make sure I can wrap it around at least 2, so there's 2 and 3 times, and then leave a bit of a tail yet and give it a cut. Now we can take our stitch marker out. Grab a little bit of stuffing. And we just want to kind of stuff. That doesn't seem big enough. We just want to have enough stuffing in there that it's going to be kind of flat when we attach it. And then you're going to get your little guy out, and we're going to grab some pins. Actually, let's Grab my other ones because I know I have enough pins on that one. And we're going to take our tail, and that's going to be on the bottom. And we're going to line that up one row below where we added the eyes. So we added the eyes in this row right here. So we're going to add the top of the muzzle right there. Just in a nice line. And then you're going to start pinning it. You're going to start by pinning in the center first. And then I'm going to come down and pin on the bottom. Wherever it sits naturally is where I'm going to pin it. I happen to be right where the stripe meets, the dark to the light. And pin it on the other sides. Then just have a look at it. Make sure it's centered. Right here is where it's going to be most important because that's where you'll notice it the most. So I'm going to do a pin there. I'm going to go around about every second stitch just to hold that in place. The more pins you have, the less possibility of it slipping around on you when you're sewing. If you're really not sure, you can put one in every stitch. I'm just kind of holding it in place gently as I go around. One more. And see, that is not going anywhere. So just double check that you like the shape you have there. It's nice and round, even on both sides. And then let's thread on our end tail. And do I have my elastic here? Another thing that helps is if you pin down the arms so they're not in your way as you're moving around. So we'll just get our little guy nice and confined like that, and then the arms aren't flipping in our way. And to start, we're going to go right where our knot is and our finishing tail. And we're just going to come down underneath the muzzle if you can, around a stitch. And then we're going to come up into the first stitch. And we're going to go down in the next stitch. So we came up here, we're going down here. We're going to catch a little piece of the head, come up, and then go into the next stitch of the muzzle. Whoop. Down into the next stitch, catching a piece of the head, and notice I'm staying underneath the muzzle, and then you won't see your stitches. So back up the next stitch, and we're just going to do this all the way around. This is where you want to be careful and make sure you're going in the same way on both sides when you get to the eyes. And when you're up across the top, I'm going to be going straight across this row so that all my stitches are at the same spot. And that will help keep it looking straight. background here, I'm going to remind you guys that if you haven't already, I have a Facebook craft page that you can go to and share anything you've made with me. You don't have to like or follow or anything. You just can go straight to the page, find a post, and leave me something in the comments. And also, if you ever see anything in the background, go and visit my channel page on YouTube and click the videos tab, and you'll be able to go scroll through everything I've made and find what you're looking for. If for some reason you can't find it, you can always leave me a comment, and I will try and post the link for you. Now I'm just about done. I have a little bit of space here, and I want my nose to be a little puffier. So I'm just going to tuck a little bit of stuffing into that hole, just so it's not quite as flat. All right, let's see. Yeah, I like that a little bit better. And then we'll just continue on. Now I'm right at my starting knot here again. So my knot's right here. I'm just going to go under it. And then I'm going to grab a piece of stitch in front of it. And then I'm just going to come underneath somewhere and try and catch a stitch. Okay, so I have a stitch right here. This is a stitch I used to sew on. I want to tie into that. So as close as you can to your knot where you started, and then we'll just put a little knot in there. And that way it'll stay kind of under the muzzle. And then we'll just put that into the hole right as close as we can. And out the back somewhere. And you may have to come back here and just kind of flick it a bit with your needle to make it even again. All right, let's set this guy free now. And we will do the little nose. All right, now we'll make the little nose. And again, you can make your rounds any way you prefer, as long as you have the same amount of stitches in row 1. I'll be making a knot with a loop on the end. It's a little easier to see maybe. So insert your hook, grab your yarn, pull up and chain 1, and remember that does not count as a stitch. That's just attaching our yarn to our loop. And for row 1, we're going to do 6 single crochets into that loop over top of the tail. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then you're just going to slip stitch into the first stitch and then tie that off. Leave yourself enough of a tail to sew around, plus to do the little mouth and on his nose. Whoop. And we're also going to cut off this little piece so it's not in our way. We've gone over it with our round of 6 single crochets, so it should be in there good enough. All right, now we're going to pin our nose on, and we want to put the top about rows 2 and 3 down from the top of the muzzle. So 1, 2, so right there between rows 2 and 3 is where we want to put the top of our nose, and we want to make sure that the string is straight down on the bottom, and then we're going to start pinning it. So we're going to go in the very center stitch and pin it in between rows 2 and 3. Go in the next stitch beside, pin it between rows 2 and 3. And then go in the next stitch on the other side and pin it between rows 2 and 3. And then we're going to pull this down, and hopefully, if you're lucky, that knot is going to be right in your center loop. And I'm just going to put a pin down there. And this is the shape our nose is going to be. If you want it to be more rounder, you feel free and do it that way. I'm just adding a couple pins in the side now, just to help keep it stay in place as we're going around. So this is how I have it. And we're going to thread on our yarn end. And just like we did the muzzle, we're just going to come down around a piece of the nose or muzzle. Stay underneath the black part of the nose if you can. We're going to come up the next stitch. We're going to go down the next stitch, around a piece of the muzzle, staying underneath the black. Go up the next stitch. Come down, around a stitch, up the next stitch, down into the next stitch, around a piece of the muzzle, come up the next stitch, and just kind of watch that your shape is staying how you want it. Down and around. Up the next stitch, and you may end up going through the same stitches a couple of times, whatever feels right to you. And then now I'm back down at the beginning. I'm just going to come over. And then up. I'm going backwards a little bit here now. And then we're going to come down at the very bottom center. And we want to come out about 2 rows down. So here's my starting loop. It's going to be 1, then the next one is 2. And we want to be as straight as we can be, because when we come back up, this is going to be the line that comes up and down from the nose. So it's going to look like that. So if you're happy with that, let's put it back in the very center. And you're going to come out again about 2 or 3 rows. Let's go 1, 2 rows on this side. I'm kind of coming out even with the bottom of my nose. I don't know, I do this different every single time. So this part, after this, you might want to play with where your placement is. Just going to bring it over and across. That might be okay actually. So I want to go over into this stitch, but before I do, we want to go underneath that line we just made. So I'm just holding my finger in that stitch that I want to go in. And I'm just going to come up at the top of the nose, and that's where I'm going to tie it. So I'm underneath the nose, up at the top. Just double check that you're happy with the shape of the mouth, and I think that looks okay. And now we're just going to kind of bring the nose back a bit and tie into one of our sewing stitches. So it might be hard to see in the black, but find one of your stitches that you use to sew on. And just like we did the muzzle, we'll tie our knot there. If I could get the right piece, there we go. Nice and tight. And we want to stay underneath the nose and get that down and out through the back somewhere. And then again, you may have to kind of fix anything that you smushed. So I kind of smushed his little top of his muzzle around. So just bring it out. His face is a little smushed. Okay, now we're going to bring the eyes in and together. So I'm just grabbing myself a little kind of scrap of yarn. I probably got maybe 1.5 feet-ish. That's probably more than you'll need. Thread that on. You're going to come in through the center, somewhere close to the eye. So I'm going to go where I added the eyes. So I added the eyes in this row. I'm going to come up in the hole just underneath or as close to the eye as I can get it. Bring most of my yarn through, leave a little bit here for tying. Then I'm going to wrap my thread underneath that eye. Now, if you did something different and you can't do that, instead of going around the eye, you're just going to drop down from where you went in to one stitch. So you're going to come up around that stitch and go down where we're going down now. And then you're going to come across, match that stitch to the stitch on this side. And if you're going like me around the eye, you'll do that now. If you can't go around the eye, you'll just come into this stitch and over. So I'm going to wrap around this eye, come down in the center, same like I did there, and then come out where I started. Now kind of keep track which eye is which. We're going to tie that one time. And we're going to push our eyes down and together, and then we're going to pull our string to tighten it. Down and together, tighten our string. It will look like they're quite close together at first, but it will relax a little bit. Just make sure they're not so close that they're going to look cross-eyed. So once you're happy with the position, tie that a couple of times. And we'll rethread that on and hide it out the back. Give those a cut. And then you may have to just bring your needle in and kind of fix these stitches a little bit. Just kind of smush them back down together. And then now let's add the little eye accents. So you're just going to grab white or whatever color you're using. And we're going to go on this side of the row where we added the eyes. So we added in this row, so we're going to go on the back side and then over to the back side across, as close to the eye as you can get. You want about half of your yarn on each side, and then if you want to go up, you're going to go like this. If you want to go down, you'll go like this. I'm going to go down on this one. So I'm just going to go just about a 45-degree angle, and then up and out the center between the eyes somewhere. Make sure you're in a hole because we're going to be tying this, and you want it to be able to go out through the back. So just gently pull that. Thread on your other end. Same thing, about a 45-degree angle just under the eye, and then come out where you brought your other end out. Don't pull it too tight because you don't want it to slide underneath the eye. Just enough that it'll stay without moving anywhere. And then we'll tie a little knot in those. Do it gently at first, and then slowly tighten. Then we'll thread those ends on. Put them out the back, and for this one you want to do that very gently again. So just kind of, if you watch from the front, as soon as you got that knot pulled through, we'll come and take them out the back. Just because we have to be very careful that we don't pull that white part too hard. Guess I forgot to cut that one too. And then if there is a little piece of yarn showing, just come in beside it and swoop it away. And we might as well do the eyebrows now too. So grab a chunk of black or whatever color you're going to be using. This time we are going to go about 2 rows up from the eye. So 1, 2, and then into this row. And I'm just going to go kind of at the top, not quite the middle of the eye. So if I line that up, I'm about like this. Come over to the matching stitch on this side. Take about half your yarn through, and then just decide where you want your eyebrows to be. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go down 2 rows and about 3 stitches from the eye. So I'm 1 row, 2 row. Then I'm going to go out 3 stitches. 1, 2, 3. So right there. And then I'm going to come out in between where I started. So I'm happy with that one. Now I got to match this side. So I thread that end on. I'm going to come down my 2 rows, 1, 2, and count about 3 stitches back. 1, 2, 3. So it should be that stitch. Just double check. It looks right to you. You can bring it up and out where your other end is. And because we're in the round, sometimes our stitches aren't quite even. So if one seems a little longer, so this seems a touch longer, you can just kind of pull that one a bit more. Then we'll give those a tie. Whoop, hold that too tight. My knot slid there, so a couple more knots. 1 knot. There, that's better. Then we'll thread those ends on and hide them out the back. And again, you'll pull that gently, just as soon as that knot is through, and then give it a cut. Fix that end, and you'll probably have to come to the front and fix this little spot where you tied your knot. And if you did pull your eyebrows a little too much like I did, just come underneath and just give them a bit of a pull. All right, now we're going to be doing the ears. And again, you can start your rounds any way you prefer, as long as you have the same amount of stitches in row 1. I'll be making my knot with the loop on the end. Insert your hook, grab your yarn, chain 1, and remember that does not count as a stitch. That's just attaching our yarn to our loop. And for row 1, going over top of the tail, we're going to do 6 single crochets into the loop. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then pull the tail if you need to close up that hole. Grab a stitch marker if you're using one, and for row 2 we are going to do 6 single crochets all the way around. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Row 3, we are going to do 1 single crochet, 1 increase, repeat that all the way around for a total of 9. So 1 single crochet for 1, increase for 2 and 3, and repeat that around. 4, increase, 5 and 6, 7, increase, 8 and 9. Row 4, we are going to do 9 single crochets all the way around. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Row 5, we are going to do 2 single crochets, 1 increase, repeat that around for a total of 12. 1, 2, increase, 3 and 4, and repeat that around. 5, 6, increase, 7 and 8, 9, 10, and our last increase, 11 and 12. Row 6, we are going to do 12 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Row 7, we are going to do 3 single crochets, 1 increase, repeat that around for a total of 15. 1, 2, 3, increase, 4 and 5, 6, 7, 8, increase, 9 and 10, 11, 12, 13, increase, 14 and 15. All right, so there's our little ear. Let's take our stitch marker out now. And now we're going to close them up. We're going to do 7 single crochets across. So starting in that first stitch and then going into the last stitch on the other side. It's going to look like that. 1 single crochet, 2, 3, make sure you're going through both sides, 4, 5, 6, and then in that very end there, 7. Now you're going to tie that off, leave yourself a bit of a tail for sewing. Whoops. Now, if you have just finished your first ear, I will be putting a screenshot over in the next frame with a timestamp so you can go back and do your second ear. And then if you've done your second ear, just keep on watching and we'll continue on to the next part. All right, we're going to attach our ears now, and the first thing we're going to do is pin where they're going to start and end. So you're just going to find your first round starting loop, and just somewhere right across in the center, you're going to put 1 pin on one side. That's where your first ear is going to start. Then match that on the second side. So you're in between rows 1 and 2 on both sides. Then you're going to come over. Try and go directly straight down towards the arm, and you're going to count down 7 rows. So this is going to be 1 where your pin is, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So right there is where your ear is going to end. And just kind of have a look, make sure it's going straight down, and then do the same thing on the other side. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then in that 7th one. Now you can double check that they're both in the same row on the bottom. I think I'm actually going to bring this up 1 because we're going to be starting our ear from behind the pin. And I'm just going to look at my eyebrows here. 1, 2, 3 in the 4th one. 1, 2, 3 in the 4th one. So you can do that too if you did your eyebrows the same way as I did. Now you're going to thread on one of your ears. I'm going to do this side first. And what you're going to do is you're going to come behind your pin, around the stitch, and then into that hole where your pin is. And you can get rid of that pin. Now you're going to go into the first stitch of the ear. You're going to come down a row and around that next stitch. You're going to go into the next stitch of the ear. And when you're going down, you're keeping in line with this pin. So I'm going to go down a row again, around the stitch, into the next stitch of the ear, down a row, around that stitch, into the next stitch of the ear, down a row, around that stitch, into the next stitch of the ear, down a row, around a stitch, into the next stitch of the ear, and then down a row. I'm right where my pin is now, so I'll take that out. And we'll go into the last stitch of the ear. And I go into this one twice. I go around again, and then for some reason I have kind of a little bump here where however I crochet. So if you have that same thing, I just go up a bit into the stitch. So I'm about one row up, and then come around again. And then that way, I'll kind of bring that ear down and kind of tuck it closer to the head. Then you're going to tie that somewhere nice and close to the ear where you just ended. And then you're going to put that in right close to where you tied it, and you're going to try and come kind of evenly across and then into the center somewhere. And we're going to leave this, make sure you come through a hole, because we're going to do the same thing we did with the arms here. All right, let's get our other ear now. So we're going to thread on that end. I'm going backwards, so now I'm going to come behind the stitch in that row and up where my pin is. Sometimes I wonder if I should be doing both ears, but then I realize I sometimes do the second one a different way, and it's a little easier to see, so it's a good way to just practice. Okay, we're going to go in that first stitch of the ear now. We're going to come down a row and around a stitch. Remember, we're keeping in line with this bottom pin. Through the next stitch of the ear. Down a row and around a stitch. Into the next stitch of the ear. Down a row and around a stitch. Into the next stitch of the ear, down a row and around a stitch, into the next stitch of the ear, down a row around the stitch, into the next stitch of the ear. And then we should be where our pin is. Down a row, around a stitch. We'll get rid of that pin. Go into that last stitch. And if you want to do like I did on the other one, we're going to go in one more time. See how there's just like a bit of a space there? That's just what we're going to get rid of right now. So I'm going back around that stitch. I'm going to come up a little bit, kind of right here, catching that V. And then bring it back around, and then back to the back again. And then you're going to give that a tie, nice and close to the ear if you can. Go down and come out where your other string was. Pull that in nice and tight. Now you're going to give it one tie. keeping track of your ends. Wrap it around the head, turn him around, and then you just pull these like you did the arms, and it's going to kind of make his head come in a bit and kind of make him look like he has cheeks. So just pull that till you're happy with it. Remembering it will relax a little bit because we're not going straight across. I'm going to tie that to secure it. Thread our ends back on. Go back in and then out back somewhere to hide those ends. Cut those off. If you have a little mess like this, just fix it with your needle and come back and kind of play with his ears a little bit. All right, now we're going to do the tail, and because it's basically the same row all the way around, just flipping back and forth in your colors, I'm just going to start you off, and then I'll leave you to finish the rest of it on your own, and then you can either pause it and then continue watching how to attach it, or while you're working on the tail, you can just finish watching to the end of the video. It's quite simple to finish off. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with one of our colors, and I'm going to use the base color. You're going to be going in the round, so you can start your rounds any way you want, as long as you have the same amount of stitches in row 1. I'll be doing the knot with the loop on the end. Insert your hook, grab your yarn, pull up and chain 1. And remember that that is just attaching our yarn to our loop. And for row 1, going over top of the tail, we're going to do 8 single crochets into the loop. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then if you need to, pull on that tail to close up that hole. Grab a stitch marker if you're using one. And for row 2, we're going to do 8 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then on our 8th one, we're going to go in, grab our yarn, pull up, because we're going to add our stripe color now. And all you're going to do is tie that new color to your old color nice and tight, as close to the hook as you can get it, 2 or 3 times. And then you're just going to pull that new color through those 2 loops to finish off that last stitch of your previous row. Row 3, you're going to do 8 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, row 4, you're going to do 8 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then on your 8th one, you're going to go in, pull up, leaving those 2 loops on your hook, drop your color you were just using, grab your other color and pull that through to finish off that last stitch of your previous row. All right, now I'm going to leave you off because you're just going to be repeating these 4 rows over and over. So you're going to end up with 26 rows, or if you want to count by stripes, you'll have 13 stripes. And to make your life a little bit easier, make sure you are stuffing as you go. All right, so now you can keep on watching if you feel confident enough to finish off on your own and just watch me sew it and say goodbye while you're doing all your stripes. Or if you need a little bit more of a visual, I'm going to try and see if I can fit all the rows in the screen here, and you can pause it, and then once you're done row 26, we'll continue on with the rest of the tail. All right, you should have just finished your 26th row. Have it all nice and stuffed. And then now we are going to close it up. So what you're going to do again is go into that next stitch on one side, into the last stitch on the other side. And then we're just going to do 3 single crochets across. So 1, 2, and 3. Then you'll tie that off, leaving yourself a little bit of a tail to close. Okay, now we're going to thread that end on. And for placement, I really don't have a specific place where I put it, but what I do like to do is to kind of put it, I have him sitting flat, and then I kind of put it about halfway up his back. So I'm going to be using this middle stripe as my guide. And then with my tail on this side, because I'm going to be sewing that way, I just center that right there. And then all we're going to do is we're going to come down around a row and then up into the first stitch of the tail. And then we're going to go over into the next stitch, around the row, up to the next stitch of the tail. We're going to go over one more stitch, around the row, and then up into the next stitch of the tail. So that's 3 stitches in 3, around 3 times, but I am going to go one more time just to kind of make that one side more secure. And then you're just going to tie it. You can go back and forth a couple times if you want. So just a little tie right there. And then out through the back and bottom. And we'll give that a little cut. And there we go. There's our little kitty cat. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, please hit the subscribe button and click that bell. Not only does that help me out, but you'll also be notified every time I load a new video, as well as any likes, shares, and comments are always appreciated. I'd also like to say thank you to everyone who has been so kind to have hit the thanks button and sent me such generous donations. You will now be listed at the end of all my next videos as my super thanks friends. Take care, be safe, and happy crocheting.